So it's really now time to really start working with audio, and we're going to continue the process. So to be able to work with the audio, you don't have to, but we're also going to build on the video as well. So we can really get a feel of editing to video, because I think a lot of people, or a lot of courses at least that I've seen and that I've purchased myself over the years, they don't really touch too much on this. And I think especially the way that video production is going, we're definitely going into the realm of just one overall piece of video which encapsulates everything, not just a pretty video, not just an infomercial, not just an informative piece, or not just something that just looks good. It's got to feel good as well. And music, the audio, makes up at least half of that. So let's build on this. And I'm going to kind of work through this and kind of stop at points where I feel we need to stop and to talk it through. But I'm just going to describe what I'm doing, and in as many places as I can, explain why I'm doing something. So first and foremost, we're going to get rid of this. I know it was pretty, but we're clearing up the space for now. So just exactly what I did there. I drew a marquee over it with the selection tool and just pressed delete. Done and dusted. By the way, we will be looking through these. I just think if we address these too early on in our learning, it can confuse things. So I'm teaching you as and when you need to know. First and foremost, I hope some of you noticed, I never did, but remember when we labeled these tracks, the first 3 tracks, VO being voiceover, BGM being background music, and A3 being SFX, sound effects. Well, this is on the wrong track, isn't it? Because this is background music. So we're going to move this down to channel 2, which is right here. Now you can see there's a red line here and there's a red line here. We can click it to get rid of it. But what that does is it tells us that we have some peaking. Where do we have peaking? Well, it was in 1, and what was in 1 was music. So let's have a quick playback. Everything seems fine. Okay, so what's happened is when this has been created, it's been turned all the way up to what could actually be almost, well, this says it clips. It must just about clip, which what happens when a piece of audio clips, it means it's gone too loud. And if it clips all the way past, if we look at the waveform again, double click this. If we look at the waveform, as I said, right the way through the center, it's the same on both. This is a stereo track. So this is your right channel, this is your left channel. And if right in the middle is silence, right at the end is as loud as we can get. Now we can go louder technically, but what that would then lead to is peaking and distortion, and not the kind of cool distortion that you get with an electric guitar. We're talking distortion because it's far too loud. And the thing is, you can get peaking and distortion when it's far too loud and it doesn't sound loud. It's just far too much for the channel. So let's tilde to get close to that, and let's see if we can sort this out. I will be showing you a way to sort this out really easily. Once you have maybe background music and voiceover and some sound effects, there's a great plugin that I use that sorts out all these things. It is a purchasable plugin, but if you're doing this a lot, it can really just help out everything. But first and foremost, remember we talked about these sliders. Let's just twirl this back up because we're not using that right now. And let's get rid of the submix. We're going straight to the mix. So let's have a look back. Okay, so it's definitely on that hit where we peak. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and drag it down just a little. And just like with everything else in Adobe Premiere Pro, we can slide and affect it with some kind of control. But if you're looking down here, as we pull down, it goes to minus and goes all the way through to this symbol, which is infinity, which means absolutely quiet. Let's just bring it back up here. I'm just going to bring it, let's just click in here and let's just type -1 and hit enter. Let's see if that still clips. See how it's no longer there? So we just went to -1. What I think whoever's exported this, they've put a brick wall limiter on it, which is exactly what it sounds like. It doesn't keep it below any kind of threshold. It takes the threshold right up against the absolute limit. And sometimes with a brick wall limiter, it can just ruin everything because it can take it far too loud. Also, if you imagine everything coming out the speakers, this is only one channel. If we add more channels, that's going to add to the general volume. And so even if this isn't peaking now, if we watch here on the graphic, you see the yellow lines that are just there, just momentarily. What that does is it gives you for a split second notification as to where the loudest point is, and we're really close there. If we added anything else in at this point, the mix would peak and it would clip, so we don't want that. But we will deal with that further down the line, and I'll be showing you ways of being able to turn up and down the track. Obviously the clip, sorry, because this is the clip and this is the track. But yeah, let's build on this and let's see what else we can create. So we first and foremost got these two clips, and then we kind of stop. I do like that. In the next section, which is adding motion, we're going to be building on the manipulating media things that we did in effects controls, and I'm going to show you a really lovely effect that we can do with this. But first and foremost, let's see where we're going to go. So yeah, let's do what I said. Let's keep building on this. I want to be out by then. You see how we've already set the precedent here with if you're counting to 4, it's 1 2 3 4 2 2 3 4, and then we've moved. So I'm now cutting it down to 1 bar. So if you count 1 2 3 4, I want to be out by the next 1. So with this highlighted, I'm going to hit my backslash to cut it, and I'm just going to select the second part that we don't want, and I'm going to delete. Now, I want to easily and quickly get into the folder where all this footage is. I could go into here and go to videos and double click and all that, but there's a really easy way to do it, and it's right click here and reveal in project. Reveal in Explorer would open a window, which is just off my screen at the moment, and that opens the window with all of these things in here. But what we want is we want to find it in the project. So if we right click and reveal in project, there we are. There's our pizza oven, and that's where we're at. So if we double click the pizza oven, which is this footage, and that's there been set out there, just scrubbing through, that's everything that I wanted there. These are our new raised flower beds. We're now through the winter now, but it's yeah, we've had to cut them all back, but what a fun summer we had last summer. So let's double click into pizza oven 4, and this is where we were getting our pizza on. You see how these handles here, I'm just going to come all the way out just to make sure I've got the full range of motion throughout all of this. And if we think this is obviously our output, this is our source, we've already got this open, so I don't want to show it being opened, but I would like to show the pizza going in. That's quite good. Emma had a little bit of a trouble getting it off the peel. That's called a pizza peel. It's got absolutely nothing to do with this course, but it's a term I learned last year, and I'm sharing it with you. The big, huge tray that a pizza goes on, it's called a pizza peel, P-E-E-L. You're welcome. Just adding value. So let's go, let's scroll back, and let's grab it. I want to grab it here. So I'm going to hit an in point here, scroll it forward a little bit, Don't know where we're going to be with the music, but I want to get towards the end, and I'll show you how this is how I edit. That's everything that I want there, isn't it? Okay, so I kind of want it from the point where Emma puts on the handle. I've started to move there a little bit, but hey ho, well, I'll be fine, it'll work. So I'm just zooming out a little bit here on the timeline, just so I can see everything where it goes in. And I'm just grabbing the audio, and bearing in mind I need to turn back on snap. Snapping in a timeline is so handy, so very handy. So I always keep that on. And I'm going to drag the video into here. See how much that takes up. I'm just going to snap it, butt it right up against there. So now, if we zoom back in and hit spacebar to hit play. Okay, so that's where we're at here. Now, I'm going to go a little bit further advanced now with editing in the timeline. And to do this, I'm going to use shortcuts. But before we go any further, remember when I did a ripple delete before and it affected the music? I'll show you again now. So let's say we want to cut this here. So I use backspace and cut. Then if I go a bit further up here and then I use W to trim off the rest of that, you see how again it's edited the music as well. And that's not what we want at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this track just for now. Don't forget, again, it's not destructive. Nothing is destructive, but we want to be in a better position, and we don't want to be chasing our tail later on thinking, oh, actually, we've timed it to music that's been cut in the wrong place, and we don't want to do that. So let's Control Z again to get rid of that cut. I'm just going to lock that track. So if I do the same again, if I hit W, which is ripple delete from the end, you see how we've cut off the whole of that, but the music has stayed untouched because it's on this track, which is locked. And if I zoom by holding shift and scrolling up, and then if I hold down Control and scroll down, you see how we're all coming up. This kind of line is sticky, and I can look all the way down the audio tracks. And this is all completely grayed out. So that's perfect. By the way, if you ever have just problems and we're all over the place and you can't find a way to get your timeline looking how you want to, you can go to this little wrench here and you can go to minimize all tracks. And that just brings everything absolutely tiny as it was in the beginning. You can also save presets. So say when I'm improving, if I'm improving, which is my, I see I've renamed all these. If I'm in audio, no, scripting, maybe not. I used to have one called audio leveling, which I haven't used for ages, so I kind of got rid of. But let's just go back to Adobe editing. Say you wanted to mainly see the audio, you could zoom in here, maybe pull this up here, and you could save that as a preset. So you had more abilities within here. You see this line that runs all the way through? We're going to be talking about that very soon. And to mainly manipulate this quite well, you need to have a very tall audio form within, a waveform within the timeline. So if that's how you wanted, you could just literally hit that little spanner and save a preset. And you would put that in, you would name it as audio leveling preset. So let's do that, audio leveling. Let's make sure that the actual caps lock isn't turned on. And if we hit enter, that preset, you see, I did actually have that preset already saved. So if I go into there and find, there we go, audio leveling, there we go, we're already there. We've got a nice tall waveform ready for us, and that will work in that situation. Again, if you want to reset all the way back, we just minimize everything and we're back to where we want to be. The only thing that it won't affect is this middle bar here, so you can always move this around how you wish. So now that we've got that established, we're now going to start building within here, as we've already started, but we can cut and trim and all that without worrying about affecting the audio. So let's just play that back. think that works quite well to get to that point. By the way, some of these colors aren't quite right. We're going to be playing with those in a later chapter as well on color correction and grading. So for now, if you're thinking, oh, that's a little bit bright or that's a little bit dark, we can play with that, and we will adjust those a little bit later on. But and it is actually best practice to do it right now, but I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to get all caught up with that. But we will address it, I promise. That's the cut that I want, right on that beat. So I'm just going to backslash to cut that, and Emma's there throwing that off. So rather than coming back up to here, what I'm actually going to do, because obviously this to there is in there and out to there, I'm going to drag this all the way out. So I've actually now got this whole clip, which is all the way from there to, yeah, for a close. Okay, cool. So that's where our cut is now. Let's see where I want to go into. Maybe here. Let's see how that works. It's all about playing. So rather than cutting and then selecting that and then deleting and moving that up, undo, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. What I'm going to do is, well, there's two things more I could do to do exactly the same thing. I could cut, and I could hold down Shift and press delete, which deletes the actual clip and then moves everything up. Or even one less cut, that's where we cut before. I could highlight that and press Q on my keyboard. This is a default keyboard shortcut, and that is to trim, and it ripple deletes from the beginning. So everything to the left, Q deletes everything to the left, W deletes everything to the right. When I say delete, it trim, it removes the clip. It doesn't delete it. Nothing's ever deleted unless you delete it in here, in the program, in the project area. But at that point, we want to Q, so we want to cut everything before it, and let's see how that works. Okay, it took a lot longer than I thought it would be to get it off the peel. So actually I'm going to bring it back maybe just to here. Let's see how that works. So I'm going to Q again, and let's run that again. Good, and I've just paused it right on that next beat, and let's maybe get it somewhere to where we're closing, and Q again, and we're going to be out at that point on that beat. Let me just play that back. Spacebar, I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to delete the rest of that. So if we have a quick look back, this is what we have so far. Good, I'm happy with that so far. So now what we want to do is I want to add a few more audio bits. Now that we are at what, we're at 20 seconds. And I know it feels like we've taken a long time to get to this state, but that's because I've been explaining everything all the way. To get to this point in an edit, generally, it would probably take me, including labeling the footage, bring all the footage in, it would probably take me about 10 minutes to get to this point. And then everything just speeds up as you go through the creative process, and you build up and you build up and you build up. And yeah, what we're actually going to do is we're going to create something that's a minute long, which would fit on all social media. And then I'm going to show you how to then make it actually fit on all social media, because obviously 16:9, although it nowadays can fit on Instagram, it's not necessarily always the best way to post. So maybe you want it square, we can do that. Obviously we're going to be cropping off bits, but anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So now what I want to do is I want to introduce more audio elements. So what I want is some spoken dialogue to be able to put into here. And seeing as though I've labeled this VO or voiceover, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to record some of the text that's on the website for this pizza oven. Because, as I said, I'm a professional videographer. My company, we provide photo and video services for businesses. But also, as you saw before, I have my own YouTube channel. And from time to time, it's mainly gadgets, but I get sent products to review. And just out of the blue, this company reached out and said, do you fancy reviewing a pizza oven? And I'd actually just recently reviewed a beer brewing home system, so I guess that's why I came up on their radar. So these are Char Outdoors, and I've got to the about page, and I think this bit of text would do well. It's enough for me to record, so I'm going to move that off this screen to a different screen so I can read from that. And I could record this outside of Premiere Pro, but I thought I'd show you how to do it inside Premiere Pro so you can see how to do that. First and foremost, I'm going to unlock the music purely just so I can mute it, and then lock it up again just so I can't touch it and bother it. But now that's nicely muted, and in track 1, which is where we're at, I just twirl that down, don't have any effects on here. We are going to play with some of these effects once I've recorded the voiceover. But here is where I'm going to record the voiceover. So I'm going to press R on here to enable track recording. And because my input is my Focusrite USB audio, this is a great audio interface. And into the USB audio interface, I actually have a really rather expensive shotgun microphone that I'm recording this on. And hopefully this screen recording will allow me to record not only to the screen recording, but also to hear at the same time. There's only one way to find out. So if there's a certain point in a video where you want to start recording your voiceover, you'll set an in point. So remember on here, we set in and out points in the source. Down here, you can set in and out points. Remember when we pre-rendered, I could set an in point there, say that's where I kind of want to start my voiceover, and then start recording, and it would start from there. But I want to start from the beginning, so I could either set my in point there or just clear in and out, and it will start from the beginning. So all I need to do now is I need to press record on there. I've armed the track. That's what it's called, arming the track. I've enabled it for recording. And then I just hit this. And once I hit this, it will count down 3, 2, 1, and then start playing back, and I'll start recording. Now, some programs show the waveform being built as you record. Adobe Audition does that, but it doesn't in here. So you can kind of start to doubt yourself. However, sometimes things change in Adobe products, so it might start building up and make a complete liar of me. Anyway, let's see if I can get this done in one take. It probably is more, it's more text than is needed here, but I'm going to do it all, even if we go into past here, because we're going to build up on this as well. So, okay, without further ado, let's record the voiceover. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature. Log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste, whether it is from the rolling fire of our pizza oven or the blazing log-burning fire from our Olympia grill. We have you covered. Our range of log burners and chimeneas are also the perfect garden accessory, ensuring you can stay warm late into the evening, enabling you to enjoy those long summer nights. Okay, I'm just going to stop that there. As you can see, that's recorded. I think that's just recorded on the left channel, which is great because I can show you what to do if you only have audio on the left channel. However, this did cover a number of products that we're not showcasing in here, but I've just seen further down the web page that I have this little bit of text which is regarding the #1 pizza oven. So let's record that as well and see if we can maybe get rid of some of the audio I've already recorded here and replace it. So now we don't want to start recording from the beginning, so I'm going to set an in point just maybe a little bit off here, and I'm going to arm in again and continue recording. So it's going to do a 3, 2, 1 in black because there's nothing playing, and then it will continue to play through here where there's no video, but that's where we're just laying the voiceover. Okay, let's carry on. When it comes to pizza making, our #1 pizza oven is the go-to family choice. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow of heat throughout, and you can be cooking in as little as 50. I'm going to do that again. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow of heat throughout, and you can be cooking in as little as 15 minutes. The steel pizza base is different from the traditional stone used in most ovens, as we believe from rigorous testing that this gives you the perfect crisp base to your pizza. Okay, I just want to point out a couple of things there. Remember when I talked about the clap and the spike? As you can see, if I just zoom in here a bit, I can see it already. That's where my spike is. Let's just go into confirm. We have carefully designed. Good. So that's showing exactly where we want to cut that. But before we do that, let me just clear the in and out just because it really hurts my eyes. Remember, we have stereo channels here. And if I look down here, we have the left on the top and the right on the bottom. However, the way that the focus rate is into my system, it only records into the left channel. That's no problem. I have 2 inputs on here, and sometimes I use the other input, so I split left and right, and there's a reason for that, and that's because I don't want a full mono signal coming in, and I can duplicate the left into the right to simulate a stereo recording. This is exactly what I do when I actually do a quick edit of these screen recordings. So I'm so glad I'm able to show you now how I do that. So any audio that drops in that's a stereo file that doesn't have it on both, this is so easy. Just think top left, bottom right. So if you were kind of looking at with your head turned to the right, your left eye is on the left and the right eye is on the bottom. Does that? I think it makes sense. Anyway, so we want to duplicate the right channel with the left channel. This is as easy as right clicking and going to audio channels. Now you see how left is left and right is right. Don't have to do anything else other than getting right to be left. That makes sense? So left is reading the left. I want the right to read the left as well. So just tick that and press OK. And hey presto, we now have a stereo pair in that one channel. We have you covered. We do have you covered. Nicely done. We just do the same for the other clip as well. So we go to right click, audio channels, and we want the left there as well. So we now have stereo all the way through for this voiceover. So let's now go through, and I'm just going to actually, I'm going to close. I'm going to toggle the output of the video to off just so it doesn't distract us, and I'm going to lock that as well. Now you can do this audio editing in other programs like Adobe Audition. Again, if you get the suite, you can use Adobe Audition as well. But it's just as easy doing it in this when it's just a quick drop in of a voiceover. Just to let you know, actually, I first got into audio editing. My background is entertainment. I used to be a singer. I used to work on ships and I used to tour. And my wife and I used to produce shows. We now work together producing videos, but we used to produce shows. And I cut my teeth in editing, starting with audio. And it was so easy to pick up from audio to video because it's NLE. It's a non-linear editor, and it all works exactly the same, just with an added element of visual as well. So let's see where we're at. I'm just going to zoom in. Obviously that's where I had a bit of silence, and play this back. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature. Okay, so what I could do is I could start affecting this now, but this is where I use the audio track mixer over the audio clip mixer. Let's just keep going and I'll show you. Okay, so I'm just going to trim off the end of there, and I'm going to shift and delete to move it all the way to the beginning. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature. Log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. Good, that's good, I like that. That is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste, whether it is from the rolling... Okay, so this doesn't really quite work because my voice is still low. Wood-fired taste, whether it is from the rolling fire of our pizza oven or the blade, because I now go into listing things. So I'm going to do this little bit again as a drop-in, but I don't want any more. I don't want the rest of this because this goes into their other products. So actually I'm just going to delete that, and I'm going to set an out point of here, an in point of there. No, that's O. An in point of there, output of there. When I start recording, you might hear me speaking a little bit just here because it plays back before. It does a 3, 2, 1, and it plays a couple of seconds before to kind of get you in the mood and get you in the mood, get you up to speed. So where was that? I'm playing food being served. Been served. Hold on, let me get that again. Good char on the food being served. On the good char on the food being served. So that's there. So what I'm going to then drop in is, that is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste. I'm going to put a full stop there, and that's just going to be a standalone little sentence. So let's record and arm, and let's continue. And a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus... Oh, that was rubbish. So we just go again, delete that, arm that, and a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste. I'm happy with that. Okay, obviously we've come in with just the left channel again, so right click and audio channels, both left, boom, done. Clear that in and out. Served. That is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste. Good. I'm going to shorten that off just to make sure we only have what we need, and then I'm going to go through this second bit, which was about the actual the wood-fired pizza oven that we're talking about. I'm just going to trim this a little bit, so I'm just highlighting that and pressing Q just to bring it right back to the beginning. Remember, we have all other tracks locked, so we can't affect any other track. When it comes to pizza making, our #1 pizza oven is the go-to family choice. We have see how I clapped there? Didn't actually clap that loud, but I could see from it doesn't look like a nice rolling waveform, so I knew I kind of must have done that. So let's do a quick edit here. Choice. So backslash to cut or add edit. I know I'm picking back up there, so I'm going to pause that there, hit Q, which will cut there, delete everything before and move everything up. Done. Let's play that back. Choice. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow of heat throughout, and you can be cooking in as little as 50. I'm going to do that again. Good, that's good. Where did I pick it up from? We have good. Is that the same point? We have carefully good. So again, we're getting rid of all of this. I'm going to go right from there and hit Q again. So it's going to cut, remove that and push everything up. Good. Go back a couple of seconds. Choice. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow of heat throughout, and you can be cooking in as little as 15 minutes. Okay, I've got quite a bit of silence there. If you hear here, and a lot of voiceover artists do this, you'll hear me take a breath but then I'll hold it for a second. And that just gives me, hear that little breath there? And then I hold it. That is just to give me the chance to cut right there, so I don't get a and hello. Do you know what I mean? The breath doesn't run into the first word, because it's really annoying to edit for any kind of editors. You'll come across that, and you'll have voiceover actors, and you'll be like, oh, please just give me a beat in between the breath. Good. Cut it back with the cue. The steel pizza base is different from the traditional stone used in most ovens, as we believe from rigorous testing that this gives you the perfect crisp base to your pizza. Good. I'm happy with that. Now we're going to pace this a little bit more, but just with that vocal and this vocal, we're up to about 46 seconds. So that gives us 15 seconds to play with to get this under a minute. Good? Okay, let's carry on. So I'm going to unlock the video now. I'm going to toggle that back on. I'm going to shrink this back a little bit. And before we go any further, I'm going to get this audio sounding exactly how I want it. So let's just listen. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature. Now, if you see here, we're looking in track 1. Let's just have a look at that fader. We were kind of coming at around -4. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature. Not -4, sorry, +4. These are decibels. That's what we're looking at. Log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus for our... Now with the music, that might fit. I might have to tighten it a little bit. Remember this little break off and then the bang here? I might have to speed that text up a little bit, but not by speeding it up, but by cutting up and making it just pace a little bit better. But first and foremost, let's get that audio sounding better. So we're on track 1. So let's twirl down here in the audio track mixer. And remember when I told you about the multiband compressor? So in VO, voiceover, you see how BGM is grayed out because we've got it locked, so we can't actually do anything to this. See how I can't do anything? That's because it's locked. It doesn't just lock that track, it locks everything within the track mixer as well. It's really handy. So we're on track 1 for the voiceover, VO, and we're just going to drop this down. We're going to go to amplitude and compression, and we're going to go to multiband compressor. Now let's just see what difference that's made. When we think of outdoor cooking, has it made any difference? When we think of outdoor cooking, well, we can check because this little effects button here, that's just showing right now. If I click it, it disables it. See how it turns blue with a line through it? Let's listen again. When we think of outdoor cooking, it's done nothing because I haven't selected anything yet. Let's just play it back again and toggle on and off and see. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature. I mean, there's the tiniest little change, but really there's absolutely nothing. So we've put the multiband compressor in here. We're going to double click this. And now, do you remember this? Can you remember from this drop down which one I selected? It was broadcast right at the top. But let's have a listen to walkie-talkie. You ready for walkie-talkie? When we think of outdoor cooking. Now, the minute you heard that, you probably thought of ways in which you've heard that in videos before. Not necessarily people talking a walkie-talkie, but maybe if you've got audio that's coming from maybe an old-time radio or something. When we think of outdoor cooking, it's such a handy little it's a preset. It's a preset within the multiband compressor, and I don't know many editors who use the multiband compressor, and it's brilliant. So let's go for broadcast. Now, just like this little button here, I can turn this off here. You see how it's toggled for the FX to turn off, and you may have noticed that this, although it's a floating window, when I click here, it doesn't get rid of it. So we can tweak things in here as we're playing back. So without it on, remember, when we think of outdoor cooking, I'm going to turn it on now and listen to the difference. When we think of outdoor cooking, it's so much more forward. It's boosting everything that needs to be boosted. It's just lovely. We think back to nature. Now, you could spend so much time playing around with EQ and audio settings, but honestly, 9 times out of 10, and I do this professionally, throwing on broadcast can really help sort any kind of audio. It's brilliant. Let me just zoom in here because I'm going to get this timed now. I'm happy with that. It works well for what we want it for now. We may build on it, but let's just get this timed perfectly, because if let's unlock that, let's unmute that, and let's just mute that. Let's just remind ourselves of the music. Okay, so we don't want anything here. And as you can see right now, that end bit is over here on the food being served. That is, it kind of, I want it, I want to make more of that, so I don't want that playing. So I just want to mute this for now, and let's just lock that. And actually, to make it easier, I'm just going to lock the video as well, just so I can use the shortcuts to the best of my ability, you know, to kind of like ripple delete and all that, and just be able to move everything. So let's just play it back and let's look for the silences. I'm looking really here, I'm looking here, I'm looking here, trying to just tighten it up a little bit, but still sounding naturally, sounding natural. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. Okay, this is going to be a little bit, I was going to say it's going to be a little bit of a hack job. It's really not, it's just finessing. So I'm going to get right to the end of that little bit, and I'm just going to cut. So I'm using my backslash just to the left of Z, and I'm going to go a little bit further over. I'm going to hit Q to bring this up, and let's have a listen to a couple of seconds of that. Let's see if that still sounds natural. Outdoor cooking, we think back to we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature. It's all right. I'm happy with that. It's okay. Let's do the same with this little silence here. You actually hear me breathing there, so it's good to get that out. I do breathe though. It's not a surprise. It's not a secret. Think back to nature. Log fires, open flames. That break is, I know it's a list, but that break is a little bit too long. So let's cut that, and let's ripple delete it from about there. I'm going to do something a little bit different here though. If we listen, log fires, open flames, it doesn't sound too bad, but just to make sure it doesn't feel as abrupt at all, I'm going to hold down Control. Remember, we've done this before, and I'm going to select the join between those two. Now remember our default transition. Our default transition in video is cross dissolve. If we go into audio transitions and crossfade, there's only 3, and there's constant gain, constant power, and exponential fade. I will sometimes use exponential fade, but that's at the end. Constant power is my default transition. We can see because it's got a blue box around it. So if I hit Shift and D, that applies the transition. Remember, we had it set for a second. Let's just see how that works. Log fires, open flames, open flame. You can't hear the cut. Not that you could before, but you definitely can't now, because there's definitely audio all the way through and there's no abrupt cuts. Works really well if you ever need to do that with audio, especially with audio. Okay, let's just check this other little section here. And a good char. Log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. Now I'm quite happy with that finishing there, because remember that little spike? That's where we've got the music banging. So let's just highlight all this. The reason why I just zoomed out there and made sure that I had all of this is because if I just stayed in here and grabbed this and just moved it off, I'd overwrite the audio there. And you can do that also with video, and it can just ruin everything. Now, there's a couple of ways I could move everything up, and I could do just literally what I was about to do, which was highlight them all and just move them along, which works perfectly. Or I could use the shortcut. And before I show you the shortcut, I'll show you the button, and that's up here. And that is Track Select Forward Tool, and that's A. If I click that, all of a sudden, rather than this pointer, we have this pointer, and that's showing you a double black arrows going right. If I now just click once, that literally selects everything to the right. It hasn't selected this and it hasn't selected this because those tracks are locked. If I unlocked that and clicked again, it would select all of these. Now if I just drag, it moves everything that's selected. It's really handy little tool. Let me just lock that again. The shortcut for Track Select Forward is A. The shortcut for the selection tool is V. Knowing those two, you can go between those two without ever leaving here, just by using your keyboard. So to move everything up, I just tap A on my keyboard and just drag them up, hit V, and I go back to my selection tool. You see how much easier that is than either going like this and like this, although I still do that at times, or coming up here, clicking that button, grabbing that, moving it up, going back up here. Now that doesn't sound like much, but if you've got to do that, 100 times in an edit, that took maybe about an extra second. You're saving yourself 100 seconds. Now that sounds nothing, but there's another button here, which is the razor tool, which if we click this and click down here, that's added an edit. Well, we already have a shortcut to add an edit, and that is the backslash. Again, if we had to come up here and click this and come back down and click and then come back up here and then carry on with the selection tool, you've got to do that for every single cut. That's adding, I was going to say hours, and it can add hours to the editing, the post-processing of an edit. And time is money. And we're going to get into that later on in this course, how time is money and how certain things, not just the shortcuts here, but if we think about the term shortcut and we apply it to maybe plugins, remember we had to play with the transitions before. If we think about plugins, time all of a sudden really is on our side. And I'm sure there's a song about that by the Rolling Stones, but let's not go there. Okay, so let's see how this works with the music and let's see how it feels. So I'm back in the sequence. I'm going to press home on the keyboard to go back to the beginning, and let's listen to it. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. I've paused it right there because I thought the break in the voiceover, we'd want it coming back in around there. Let me see if I'm right. Let me see if it feels right. Good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus for... Yeah, okay, that works for me. Now you've probably noticed that this music is a little bit loud in comparison to the voiceover. We're going to deal with that very soon, and it's a great little tip. But let's just move on. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn this down for now, just so we can work with it easier and see where we're at. For our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste. Okay, let me bring this up. Let's just quickly position all these. When it comes to pizza making, our #1 pizza oven is the go-to family choice. Move this up. Let's see if that can go straight into that choice. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow of heat throughout, and you can be cooking in as little as 15 minutes. I thought that was a nice bit to kind of leave that off. See if we can cover that with a nice bit of B-roll. If we then bring in this last little bit, we're up to, what are we up to at the end of there? 52 seconds. That's good. Let's listen to this. The steel pizza base is different from the traditional stone used in most ovens, as we believe from rigorous testing that this gives you the perfect crisp base to your pizza. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's just bring that off, and I'm just going to do a little fade in and fade out of this one. just so it doesn't, there's no abruptness. I know I can't hear any at the moment, but I've got my headphones quite quiet. So I want to select this and this. Easy way to do that is to hold down Control and drag. See, and we've got that. And now what do we do? How do we apply our default transition? Shift and D. Good. So now we have this. The steel pizza base to your pizza. Perfect. Quite often I'll also come through here and I'll do exactly the same. So Control and drag all the way through the audio and Shift D. Let's see how that feels. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus... Okay, I think we need to bring the audio in a little bit earlier, actually. I think maybe on the second beat there. That is why our... Maybe a little bit even earlier. On the food being served. That is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste. When it comes to pizza making, our #1 pizza oven is the go-to family choice. Okay, good. So now we aren't only being dictated by the music, but we're being dictated by what's being said as well. So what did I just say? Yeah, let's just play that back. When it comes to pizza making, our #1 pizza oven is the go-to family choice. We have carefully designed... Okay, so we want some of the actual pizza oven itself. So let's right click and go to project. So we're just back in here and okay, we're into... Okay, so that's just of that. And looking through this is a great way to skim through and just to make sure everything, that you're not missing any of the footage. Look at that pizza, it was absolutely gorgeous. Let me just zoom out here and make sure that we've got good, and then we're cutting the pizza. Good. Okay, so what do we want to do again? When it comes to pizza making, our #1 okay, so we've just shown them going east. Okay, so I still want to kind of show the actual pizza oven, but yeah, you see how the fire's coming out the back there as well. That looks great. So I'm going to set an in point there. In fact, you see how I wasn't really moving at the beginning there? I'm going to set an out point there, but I'm actually going to go further back and see if I just stayed still just a little bit longer. I did. Okay, let's set an in point there. Let's see how that feels. Just dragging the video only. When it comes to pizza making, our #1 pizza oven. Good. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's see what else we can do. I'm just going to... Let's just listen to that for the music. When it comes to pizza making, our that's where we want to come out of it. Boom. Our that's where I want to go. Okay, so I'm going to get that right back to there, but I'm actually going to then drag it out and I'm going to cut. So that's where I want the next piece of video to come. I'm going to drag it out a little bit further. The thing is, you've probably noticed there's no cut and fast rule of how to edit. It's just knowing how to work the actual software. I'm just going to add a cut there. Did I add a cut before? Our #1 pizza oven is the go... Ah, yeah. Okay, so I don't want that in. I want... As Emma's hand comes in, that's good. So see how I'm intentionally now overriding that? I'm not using Q or W now because all of these are unlocked and I just having to unlock and lock and all that, and we want the freedom to be able to move around the audio if we need to, although I don't think we will, but I'm intentionally overwriting now. So let's have a listen. Our #1 pizza oven is the go-to. I want to cut again on that music. I think we're then done with that footage, which was 5. So let's delete the rest of that and let's come back in to number 6. And where are we here? Okay, that's quite good. Maybe let's get her as she's turning it. Okay, I'm going to use bits of this. Back in again is good. And then she closes it again. Okay, so let's just drag that in and make sure that the end, you see at the right hand side here, just make sure the end isn't overriding everything. It's not overwriting even. Okay, let's bring that in. Let's see how this is looking. Number one pizza oven is the go-to family choice. We have carefully designed. I'm going to cut there and listen to the music as well as the audio. And I know that. Let's get there as she's already moving forward, intentionally overwriting it. Go-to family choice. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow of heat. Okay, that looked a little bit messy, so let's pick it up there instead. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow. Okay, okay. I'm using it anyway, and I'm gonna. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna cut to. I'm now just using my left and right buttons, the cursors. Sorry, the left and right buttons on my keyboard, and I'm gonna maybe go from there again, backslash to cut, and then I'm gonna drag and overwrite that. I went too far. This is where again the snapping is great because you see how that black line is now there between, and I just drop that. Let's have a look. A perfect flow of heat throughout, and you can be cooking. That's good. And then I'm going to. Okay, let's just delete that now and come back up there. So throughout, and you can be cooking in as little as 15 minutes. Is that all we've got of that clip? Let's maybe can be cooking in as little as 15 minutes. Okay, that's good. And then we have, we can't just leave it black. So let's get some more. Don't forget, the most important thing about making a video and filming a video is you always need more B-roll than you think you have. So I think I'm just about going to have enough. Let's come in here. And actually, I'm just going to drag this whole clip because I know that we start from getting the pizza out and we get all the way to the actual table outside and the cutting of the pizza. I can still almost taste that pizza. So I'm going to drag all of this, just the video only, into here. Okay, so let's put that up and let's see where we're at. In as little as 15 minutes. Okay, let's start cutting with the music in mind. I can probably cheat and get a little bit there as well. Minutes. Good. And what else are we saying? The steel pizza base is different from the traditional stone. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to move that up because that's kind of in the background, but it's in shot at that point. The steel pizza base is different from the traditional stone used in most ovens. Works quite well because the pizza's ever so slightly out of shot. I'd like to say that was intended, but no, I just wasn't quick enough following my wife with the pizza. And let's get it to. Okay, this is out of focus here right now. We're focusing on there. Let me just cut this now because I think it's a nice moment. Let's see if that quickly comes into focus. Okay, maybe a little bit later. And where were we? From the yeah, okay, so I'm just going to again intentionally overwrite. The steel pizza base is different from the traditional stone used. Now we're going to do something with this clip a little bit later on. I'm not going to do it now because I know it's coming next, and it's actually in the next chapter, a chapter with adding motion, building on the knowledge of the manipulating media section. So remind me when we get here, we're going to do something here. In fact, I'm going to remind myself. And how do I do that? I'm going to do something that we haven't done yet, and that's marking. Now, it's really quite simple, and that is you can mark in two different places. within Premiere Pro. You can either mark a clip, whether it be a video or audio, or you can mark a part on the timeline. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mark a part on the timeline only because I know that this isn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? This is in this place in the sequence where it's going to be. Obviously all those things can change, but I've decided that that's where it's going to be. But if it wasn't and I wanted to mark a part in a clip, I'd simply think, right, okay, this is where I want to remind myself that this is, I'm going to do something with this clip. And with the clip highlighted, I could just press M. And you see how a little mark has been added to here. It's actually been added to here as well. And if I double click that, and what I can do while this is still on the mark, if I press M again, it will bring me up with a little bit of a text here. And what I can do is I can add something about the marker that I want to draw the attention to. So I'm going to put in here motion, because that's what we're going to be doing. Don't want to give too much away, but motion. The marker color, it doesn't really stand out too well, so I'm going to mark it as red as well. And in fact, I'm going to mark it white, and I'm going to hit OK. And that white doesn't actually stand out on here. But what did I say? I said I was going to mark it on the actual sequence. So let's Control Z, Control Z. And if I click out, so nothing is selected, and I press M, now the marker is up here, and it's actually much clearer when it's away from everything. So I'm going to leave it that color, but I'm going to press M again, which will bring up again my dialog box here, and I'm going to type in again motion, and I'm going to put some comments in here, and that is I'm going to say keyframing. I'm giving you even more, but that's all I'm going to say here. I'm going to press OK. So that's now my marker there. Now if I came along, when we come along next and we see this, if I mouse over this, this now tells me motion keyframing. If I double click that, I could actually bring up that marker again if there was a lot of text in here. This is really helpful when you're working between teams and you want to leave a comment on someone's work, whether it be good or bad. That works perfectly and really, really well for that. Anyway, so I'll leave that mark on there and let's move along. Steel pizza base is different from the traditional stone used in most ovens, as we believe from rigorous testing. I'm going to cut there on that music. I'm going to take it to where she's just sliding it out. Ovens, as we believe from rigorous testing that this gives you the perfect crisp. In fact, I'm going to do it there as the peel comes out. This is a peel. Have I told you that? I know, I'm very proud of myself for knowing a technical term with regards to pizzas. Let's just have a look at that little bit of a sequence again. As we believe from rigorous testing that this gives you the perfect crisp base to your pizza. That's good. Pizza. Let me just, I want to see where I want to cut. Gives you the perfect crisp base to your pizza. I know that Emma goes back in with the pizza cutter, and I'm just thinking, this gives you the perfect crisp base to, maybe when that hits, that boom, let's have a look at this waveform, base to, it is right on the top of there. If I just go there, that's where I'm going to cut. It's a really lovely moment, but I don't want to be in there for too long because I want to tell the actual story as well. Where's Emma cutting? Okay, let's just cut there and let's delete all that. And let's bring that up and let's see how we're looking. That this gives you the perfect crisp base to your pizza. Okay, I want it when she's actually just getting to the edge. So let's go about there. I'd love to do it all in one movement, but hey-ho. Crisp base to your pizza. Okay, good. I'm just going to cut that and get rid of the rest of that. I'm also going to label... which one did I think? Ovens, as we believe from rigorous testing that this gives you the perfect crisp base to your pizza. Yeah, so I'm going to mark this bit as well. And I'm also going to put motion here as well, because I'm going to pretty much do the same thing I'm going to do on here. Pretty much very similar on here as well. So good. Shall we have a little look back and see how it feels? When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste. Okay, so we're kind of there. We've got the basis of what we're working with. However, the audio is just not right. So let's double click that slider for the music and bring that back up. And let's just go back to the beginning. When we think of outdoor... Okay, now what I'm going to do now is use a plugin. And actually, do you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to show you the inbuilt first. And then I'll show you how easy it is to use a plugin. But actually, this is a new thing with regards to audio in Premiere Pro, and it does make it a lot easier. So let's just go to the audio workspace for now. As I said before, and as we did right at the beginning, we like to set up all our workspaces. Is that my saved audio workspace? Didn't think so. Okay, so this is my audio workspace. In fact, that has changed because I much prefer it like there. By the way, recognize this? It's the same as what is audio clip doing there. Let's close that panel and let's save the changes. Save as new workspace. Let's say audio, and hopefully it will overwrite. Oh, audio 1. And then, yeah, okay, I'll deal with that later. We don't want audio clip anywhere near anything ever. I really wish Adobe would get rid of it, but maybe there's one guy who's been using it for about 15 years who still uses it. So anyway, so this is the same as this bad boy. Cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. That is... and we're clipping again here. Why is that? Because we're at 0. But don't worry, we're going to rectify all this. So how do we get it all sorted? Well, first I want the audio, the music, to be the right time. Now that we can take this into a different program, we can take this into Adobe Audition, and we can sort that out. However, by the time you see this, you will actually have somewhere in here called Remix. I know it's coming, but it's not here yet. And in Remix, you can, rather than, you see this duration, you can tick this, you could set your target duration, and it will automatically cut and remix the music. If we set this now for target duration, it actually just speeds it up. I'll show you. 55 seconds. Let's say we want it for 59 seconds, because that will then allow us some titles and stuff. Let's say 0 and 59 seconds and 0 frames. If I hit enter, everything has been brought up, and now, well, you be the judge. Have a listen. Oh, it's got to render it first. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think... That's not what we intended. I just soloed this, by the way. Remember we've muted before? I soloed this so you could hear it in all its glory without my voiceover. It's not really what we're looking for. But as I said, by the time you get here, there will be something here called Remix, or if not, it will be very shortly being released. It's in the beta version at the moment. However, I don't run beta on my my system purely because I do this for a living. And if I have a beta version of Premiere Pro, it can fail and I can lose things, and I can't afford to lose things because I have paying clients. But here's the way that I've always done it when I've wanted to stay within Premiere Pro and not, because this Remix has been in Adobe Audition for years. But anyway, let's show you just a nice, quick and easy way to trim it. So let's go to the end and let's hear where I feel we could come in. Doesn't it sound weird? that it's now back to the normal speed. Let's have a listen. I think we're there. Sorry. My wife gets so mad because sometimes I do things so quickly and I don't explain. Let me just find it again, make the cut, and then I'll show you. See, I just literally hit that as it was playing back. Let me just play and see if I definitely got it on the beat. I did, yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go up here. That should go through once. Okay, cool. Happy with that. So what I want is for this bit right here to be around 1 minute. So I now need to find somewhere earlier on that I can drop it in so that this bit is around 1 minute. Okay, let's go back. Let's mute that. Okay, we're in a different section in the music. So, okay, this is going to be a little bit more difficult, but we can make it work. Okay, I've just cut that because I know it's quite a decent length. Okay, you can see what I've done. Let me just get rid of that bit and let's just drag this music up here and see where we're at. Doesn't always work that perfectly. Let's play back and see if it works okay. Okay, maybe it doesn't work so perfectly. Let's hear the beat. So it comes in a little bit too early. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag this out and we're going to drag this out and find that beat properly. It feels like it should fit. It's right on there. See it? Right on that little bit there. So I'm going to nudge one over to right there and then I'm going to put this right up against it. This should fit now, unless I've actually cut this bit in the wrong place. So listen back. Okay, now it feels a little bit abrupt, but how can we sort that out? With one of these. Hold down Control, hit that, and then Shift and D to do a crossfade. Now, if it's not quite right, doing a crossfade where there's a beat will really highlight the problem because you'll have beats going against each other like a bad DJ. But if it's right, we're going to be laughing. Let's have a listen back. Oh yeah, that works. Take it back a little bit further. Good. Happy with that. Cool. Okay, so why do we get the music the right time first before we did what we're going to do? Well, because right now what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called ducking. See it right there? Ducking. Let me just clear those audio types just so I can show you exactly what we're going to do. So first and foremost, we want Premiere Pro to know that track 1 in the audio 1, all of those clips are dialogue. I'll tell you why in a minute, but let's just do that. So how do we select all of these? Well, we could do Control A, like you would in like Microsoft Word or something, but that selects the video clips and also the music. What we can do is just drag a marquee and select them all like that. So nothing is selected other than the voiceover clips. Now you see the minute that I select here, let me just deselect, but keep an eye up here when I go to select again. All this is grayed out. When I do this, it gives me the option to tell it what it is. So I'm now going to say it's dialogue. Click. Now sometimes when you're doing this after the fact or you've got other clips involved, whenever you click that, always look down here and make sure that all the clips that you selected are still selected. Sometimes it will deselect a clip like this and you'll have to go and select that individual and say that that's dialogue as well. I'm not too sure why that happens, and again, it may be a bug fix that is fixed by the time you start playing with Premiere Pro, but for now I'm just telling you, if that ever happens, and you'll notice when we do the next step that it will stand out like a sore thumb. that it hasn't actually selected it as dialogue. But now that we've said this is dialogue, we're now going to select the music, which is this clip, but it's not. It's this clip and this clip. So hold down Shift and select them both. Or again, as we did above here, Marquee tool and select them both. We're now going to say this is music. The reason why is because when we say it's music, it now gives us the option to duck. Now, what is ducking? What ducking is it's a drop in the volume against something. So you duck against something. So if we tag on or tick on ducking, we're now saying it comes as default, duck against dialogue clips. You see why we actually said that this was dialogue, so that this will duck against dialogue. Now, the default is the sensitivity is 6, the duck amount is -18, and the fades are 800. I don't agree with that. It never works for me. Ducking by -18 takes it far too quiet, and it might not as well even be in. So instead of -18, you see how nothing has happened yet? There's a reason for that. We're going to click into here and we're going to type -8 and just hit enter. Nothing else has happened. We've just changed it. We could, again, as always, we can play around with the slider. I just like to click in -8. I also don't want the fade to be as slow. This 800 microseconds or milliseconds means that the fade takes 800 milliseconds to fade down. And not only does it take that long to fade down, it takes that long to fade back up again. And I want the music not only coming down only when it's needed, but I want it back and up as soon as possible. So I changed this 800 to 300. Good. You see how it's moved more towards fast? Now that we've got this in, so it's 6, -8 and 300, we generate the keyframes. And once it does it, it takes a couple of seconds, or can take a couple of seconds, and then we generate keyframes down here. Now remember, I told you about this line going through. Well, this line going through the audio is the volume envelope. Watch when I hit generate keyframes. Done. I haven't shortened that. I actually did it in no time at all. And if we look into here, let's just tilde so we can see all this, and let's zoom in a little bit. You can see that it's added what we call keyframes. We're going to be touching on keyframes a lot in the next section. But what this has done is it knows that this is dialogue and all this is dialogue. So this line here, if you imagine all the way down is silence, all the way up is far too loud. This line here is where it was originally, but it's added keyframes right here, and it's set the level here when there's dialogue playing. Then when there's no dialogue, it's taken it back up to 0 dB or normal volume. And then just before this has started, it's brought it back down again, and again, done it here again. It works brilliantly now. For years, it worked absolutely terribly, but it works great now. So I'm going to tilde back off. And now with our keyframes and our ducking in, let's go back to editing. You could check it in there, but I'm confident that it's absolutely fine. And let's just play that back. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste. When it comes to pizza making, our #1 pizza oven is the go-to family choice. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow of heat. Okay, let's hold that there. You've probably noticed a couple of things. Firstly, that we're clipping again still. We're peaking on the audio, and that's because we're at the normal audio level still at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to take it to -1 like we did before. I'm going to take it to -0.5. And let's see if that has fixed it. Let's just click that off and click that off. No, don't bring that all the way up to there. We don't want the master all the way at +15. Double click, and that brings it down, and make sure we're clicking the red. And let's bring the playhead back and play from there. Let's see if we clip being served. That is why. Okay, that's fixed it. However, I also noticed right at the beginning, let's just jump back. When we think of outdoor, See how we've got a clip here, but we've got no clip anywhere here? That's because of, I zoomed in too far there, it's because of this bit here. That's the bit in my voice, but that doesn't look like it's anywhere near clipping, and it isn't. But my voice at that loud, at that intensity, plus even the ducked down audio from the music, has made the master clip. Okay, let me play that again. Let me show you. It's right at this point. When we think of, see how it's clipped. So that's annoying. Now that's where I'm going to bring in the plugin I talked of before. I talked about it with the music, but I decided to do the ducking instead, because ducking has, it's come on leaps and bounds in Premiere Pro. But I want to do this audio, the dialogue, with the plugin. First and foremost, because it gives a much better feel than anything in the audio section from Premiere Pro does. And it's brilliant. It's called Alex Audio Butler. And once installed, you can find it. Don't forget, all the links are at the bottom of the worksheet, and you'll find this under Alex Audio Butler. So just like we did with the multiband compressor, we want another channel. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options for effects in here. We can add loads of effects, but we don't need to in this one. We just need to drop this down, go to VST3, Tools, Unimule, that's the company that make it, and Voice. So Alex Voice Audio Butler. As I said, you can also apply it to music, sound effects tracks, and master. But let's just go for voice right now. And just like we did with the multiband compressor, we're going to double click this and just set a couple of parameters. First and foremost, they're not varying sources for the voice. It's just one constant source, being my voiceover. And I want general compression. I don't want max. I don't want natural. I want general compression. Okay, that's it. 2 clicks. Let me just disable it to remind ourselves of what it sounds like without it. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. Okay, so that's without Alex Audio Butler. Let's turn it on and listen back. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. You hear a difference? If you're listening on good quality headphones, you can definitely tell a difference. Also, this Alex Audio Butler is reading constantly as it plays. So if we play it back again, it will learn more. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature. Now let's just take this another level. And for background music, I'm going to go for Alex Music Audio Butler. I'm going to double click into this. And I'm going to say my target volume is 3, and my auto ducking, see how ducking's there? I'm going to have it as medium. So because that's going to be ducking, let me go back into audio, and I'm going to disable the ducking of these two. Let's just disable that for now. You see how the keyframes have gone back up? And let's go back here, and let's see how a plugin can do better. Now, obviously, we got to a certain level with the built-in from Premiere Pro, and it worked okay. But have a listen to a third-party plugin and how much better it sounds. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest... Now, did you hear I brought it down really quickly? That's again because it's learning. Play it back again. Good char on the food being served. And it didn't come up at all then. Right, because it's learning constantly. You have to play this through about 3 or 4 times to get to where you want it to be. But before we do that, I'm actually going to add it also to the master. Okay, just like with the other two, this is the master, and I want a compression boost, and this is for online. Okay, so the compression will boost all of the audio, and this is for online delivery. Obviously, if you're going for broadcast, you could go here, or archive. I never used archive, but if it's broadcast for television, television producers require audio at a certain level, but this is just for online, so I'm happy with that. X out of that. I'm going to render this a few times and then play it back to you to give it the best chance to do its work. As you can see, we've gone all green all the way along here. I've actually exported the audio a couple of times. That's what Alex Audio Butler tells you to do. And have a little look. I'm surprised it doesn't actually give me a boost here at all, but it works. It works really well. And as you can see, there's no keyframes. There's no lines that have been changed all the way through here because it's actually working within itself, within the plugin. Have a listen to this. Especially here where it goes no dialogue, and here as well, and also here when the music goes a little bit quieter. Alex Audio Butler is reading the quality of the music and the sound and the overall timbre of the music, so it knows that it can keep it up a certain level because it's not as full as over here. Similar to here, when we get to the end, it brings it up way before the end because it knows that it's a much less depth of audio, so it can bring it up earlier. It sounds just so much more professional. Have a listen. In fact, you know what? Before we go any further, I'm going to put a little fade down here. How do I do that? Just Control, drag, Shift D. You know what I'm doing. Isn't it great to feel like you know what I'm doing just watching this now? Okay, have a listen. When we think of outdoor cooking, we think back to nature, log fires, open flames, and a good char on the food being served. That is why our biggest focus for our products is making sure you get that authentic wood-fired taste. When it comes to pizza making, our #1 pizza oven is the go-to family choice. We have carefully designed the oven so that there is a perfect flow of heat throughout, and you can be cooking in as little as 15 minutes. The steel pizza base is different from the traditional stone used in most ovens, as we believe from rigorous testing that this gives you the perfect crisp base to your pizza. So we're going to do something else here, but I'm going to wait until later on in the course to do that. But I just want to point out a couple of things. Yeah, as I said, it brought up the music way before I'd finished talking because it knew it could. It also did the same here. And let me point out that there is absolutely no clipping whatsoever all the way along, because the Audio Butler is working not only on the voice and on the music, but also on the master. It works beautifully. If you imagine if you've got a stupidly long sequence with loads of different types of audio, you've got a different people talking at different times on different tracks, you've got pieces of music, pieces of sound effects and all that kind of stuff. Being able to just automate it like this and export it a couple of times, you just have to export the audio, not necessarily the music, not necessarily the video, and it just changes everything. So that's where we're at. That's working with audio. I know we've done a lot, we've covered a lot in this section with regards to audio, but I think you're coming out of this section knowing a hell of a lot more than what you did going in. Next up, we're going to add motion. We're going to build more within this sequence and see what else we can do just to spice, just to add that little flair. And that's what this is all about. It's adding. It's first getting a rough cut, which is what we did. And then we've built on it with the voiceover and the music. And now we're going to go a little bit further. We're going to add motion, and then we're going to add color correction. And it's just going to be brilliant. Get ready. It's going to get even more fun.